On this day in history, we remember the remarkable individuals who shaped our world. Welcome to Who Died Today in History, where we honor their legacies. From artists to leaders, their impact lives on. If you find their stories meaningful, like, subscribe, and hit the bell to stay connected.
Thank you to all our amazing channel members for your generous support.
Mitzi Gaynor, the dazzling American actress, singer, and dancer, passed away peacefully at the age of 93 on October 16, 2024, from natural causes. Her death marked the end of an era that celebrated glamour, talent, and showmanship, an era when Hollywood's golden age merged with the rise of television variety shows to create icons who defined American entertainment. Gaynor's passing symbolized more than the loss of a beloved performer. It reflected the fading of a generation whose artistry was rooted in live performance, meticulous craft, and the sheer joy of entertaining. Born Francesca Marlene Dczany von Gerber in 1931, Gaynor came of age in a time when Hollywood musicals were at their peak. Her breakout role in There's No Business Like Show Business, 1954, placed her among the greats, and her portrayal of Nellie Forbush in South Pacific, 1958, cemented her as one of the defining stars of post-war optimism. The 1950s and 1960s were decades that celebrated exuberance, order, and the American dream, and Gaynor's radiant performances embodied that ideal. Her on-screen vitality offered audiences a sense of hope and escapism during years marked by Cold War anxieties and rapid cultural change. When she passed, tributes poured in from across the entertainment world. Dancers, actors, and fans celebrated her as a trailblazer who bridged film, television, and stage with effortless grace. The immediate consequence of her passing was not only nostalgia, but also reflection on how entertainment has evolved from the live, heartfelt precision of Gaynor's era to today's digital and mass-produced artistry. Her death reignited appreciation for the discipline and artistry that defined mid-century performance culture, reminding audiences that true showmanship is both timeless and deeply human. Mitzi Gaynor's death amplified her legend as one of the last great entertainers who could sing, dance, and act with equal mastery. She represented an age when performance was both craft and calling, a time when art celebrated optimism rather than irony. Her legacy endures through the enduring popularity of South Pacific, her Emmy-nominated television specials, and her influence on performers who followed in her footsteps. In remembering Mitzi Gaynor, we confront humanity's enduring relationship with memory and mortality, the desire to preserve joy, elegance, and excellence even as time moves forward. Through film, recordings, and public tribute, she remains immortalized, a symbol of artistic devotion and the timeless human need to create beauty that outlives us all. Sylvia Kristel, the Dutch actress and model best known for her groundbreaking role in the 1974 film Emmanuelle, passed away on October 17, 2012, at the age of 60. Her death, caused by cancer and complications following a stroke, was the quiet close to a life marked by both artistic daring and personal turbulence. Kristel's passing symbolized the end of a cultural era that dared to explore sensuality, liberation, and female autonomy in film, a reflection of the shifting moral and social boundaries of the 1970s. Born in Utrecht, Netherlands, in 1952, Kristel rose to international fame almost overnight when she starred in Emmanuelle, a French erotic drama that became a global phenomenon. The film arrived at a pivotal historical moment, The sexual revolution of the late 1960s and early 1970s had challenged long-standing norms about desire, gender, and censorship. Kristel became the face of this new openness, elegant, mysterious, and unashamedly sensual. Yet, the same role that catapulted her to fame also trapped her in a narrow image of eroticism. In later years, she struggled to escape the shadow of Emmanuelle, turning to painting, writing, and smaller film roles to reclaim her artistic identity. The circumstances of her death were poignant in their contrast to her cinematic persona. Having battled throat and lung cancer for nearly a decade, Kristel died in relative obscurity compared to her years of global stardom. The immediate aftermath of her passing brought renewed attention to her career, not merely as an actress in erotic cinema, but as a woman who embodied both the freedom and the vulnerability of her time. Film critics and fans alike revisited Emmanuelle with a more nuanced understanding. It was not merely provocative entertainment, but a cultural artifact from an age that sought to redefine female expression and autonomy. Kristel's death amplified her legend as a symbol of 1970s liberation, an icon who dared to merge art and sensuality in a world still learning to accept both. Her life and passing invite reflection on how society immortalizes figures who challenge norms. We remember them not only for their work, but for the conversations they force us to have about freedom, identity, and morality. Through film retrospectives, documentaries, and her memoir, Undressing Emmanuelle, Sylvia Kristel remains a lasting emblem of beauty, rebellion, and the human desire to be seen beyond the roles we play. Frehley, the original Spaceman guitarist and founding member of KISS, died on October 16, 2025, at the age of 74 following complications from a fall in his home studio. Reports indicate he suffered a brain bleed after the fall and was placed on life support, before being taken off ventilatory support and passing away. His death can be classified as accidental, but it resonated deeply with the risks inherent even for those long accustomed to the spotlight. For a musician whose life was theatrical spectacle, a simple misstep became his final act. Frehley's career had always balanced excess and artistry, the explosive guitar solos, the pyrotechnics, the extravagance, with personal struggles, including disputes with bandmates and health challenges. In a way, his departure reflected the fragility behind rock and roll mythos. Even those who defied gravity on stage remained vulnerable to ordinary human misfortune. The immediate impact of his passing was profound across the music world. The death of the first original KISS member to die alters the symbolic completeness of the band's original lineup. Tributes poured in from fans, fellow musicians, and media outlets worldwide. His bandmates, Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley, called him irreplaceable and announced how crucial he was to KISS's foundational chapters. Frehley's death amplifies his legend rather than diminishes it. His persona as the Spaceman, a mixture of mystery, alienation, and sonic force, becomes more mythic in absence. The narrative of his life now naturally leans into the rock martyr trope, raising awareness of his contributions not only as a guitarist, but as a singular symbol in rock's cosmic play. His innovations with smoke-blasting guitars, the merging of showmanship and brutality, and his soulful solo work will be reassessed through the lens of finality. What these deaths teach us is that power and performance cannot pierce mortality's veil. Through loss, we heighten our memory of the departed. Their work becomes a shrine. We immortalize figures like Frehley through tribute concerts, reissued recordings, documentaries, fan art, museum exhibits, and critical reappraisal. Their deaths centralize their myths. They become archetypes. Through art, literature, and remembrance, we resist forgetting. And in doing so, we transform mortality into legacy. Frehley lives on in riffs, in the mythic suit of the Spaceman, and in every guitarist who dared to shoot rockets from their instrument in homage to his spirit. Danielle Darrieux, one of France's most enduring and elegant actresses, passed away on October 17, 2017, at the age of 100 from complications related to a fall at her home in Bois-le-Roi, France. Her death was natural, but symbolically powerful, the gentle close of a century-long life that had witnessed and helped define the evolution of European cinema. Darrieux's passing marked the end of an era of refinement, grace, and resilience that had shaped both French film and its cultural identity throughout the 20th century. Darrieux's career spanned more than 8 decades, from her early work in the 1930s to her final performances in the 2000s. Her death reflected not only the inevitability of aging, but also the vanishing of a generation of artists who had endured the turbulence of war and the reinvention of art in modern times. During World War II, Darrieux's decision to continue working under German occupation had once stirred controversy, revealing the moral complexities faced by artists in politically fraught eras. In death, however, her legacy was remembered less for controversy and more for endurance, for surviving, creating, and embodying France's cultural continuity through decades of upheaval. The immediate response to her death was one of reverence and nostalgia. Tributes from the French government and global film communities honored her as a national treasure, a woman who had given French cinema its poise and poetic soul. Her performances in films such as The Earrings of Madame de and 8 Women resurfaced across media and retrospectives, reminding audiences of her delicate ability to balance vulnerability and strength. For many, Darrieux's passing was not just the loss of a performer, but the closing chapter of a golden age of film defined by emotional sophistication and timeless artistry. Her death, in its quiet dignity, reflected the values of her era: grace under pressure, artistic devotion, and the quiet assertion of identity through creation. What her passing reveals about humanity's relationship with mortality is that we often seek immortality through beauty, through the act of leaving behind art that continues to feel alive. Darrieux remains immortal not only in the luminous faces she portrayed on screen, but in the cultural memory of a France that sees itself reflected in her artistry. Through film festivals, retrospectives, and critical essays, her spirit endures, a reminder that while the body fades, performance is eternal. Eddie Applegate, the American actor best known for his role as Richard Harrison in the 1960s sitcom The Patty Duke Show, passed away on October 17, 2016, at the age of 81. His death was attributed to natural causes, marking the peaceful end of a life spent both in front of the camera and behind the scenes as a television writer and director. His passing symbolized the quiet fade of a generation of performers who helped define the wholesome, family-oriented entertainment of mid-century America, a period when television was both a cultural mirror and a moral compass. Applegate's rise to fame in The Patty Duke Show coincided with the optimistic, idealized vision of American life that characterized early network television. Playing the supportive, kind-hearted father figure, he represented a vision of stability and decency that resonated with audiences in the uncertain years following the Kennedy assassination and the dawn of social upheaval. His calm, composed screen presence reflected the values of his era: discipline, modesty, and a deep sense of family unity, traits that made the show a comforting cultural touchstone. When Applegate passed away, tributes from co-stars and fans alike highlighted not only his acting but also his kindness and professionalism. His death prompted a wave of nostalgia for a simpler, more earnest era of entertainment, before irony and spectacle dominated American television. Though he never pursued superstardom, his work embodied a kind of quiet authenticity that kept him beloved by those who grew up watching him. The immediate consequence of his passing was a renewed appreciation for actors who brought sincerity and warmth to family television. In a media landscape often dominated by controversy and reinvention, Applegate's legacy stood as a reminder of television's power to reflect everyday humanity. His death and the enduring affection it inspired reveal how audiences continue to immortalize figures who embody moral constancy and emotional truth. Through reruns, fan retrospectives, and cultural memory, Applegate's work remains alive, not as a relic of the past, but as a reminder that genuine kindness and integrity never go out of style. In remembering him, we celebrate more than a performer. Janice Rule, an actress celebrated for her intelligence, depth, and unconventional path through Hollywood, passed away on October 17, 2003, at the age of 72 from a cerebral hemorrhage. Her death was natural, yet it symbolized the closing of a rare chapter in American cinema, one defined by women who refused to conform to the narrow roles Hollywood often prescribed. Rule's passing reflected both the endurance and the struggle of actresses in the mid-20th century who sought to balance artistry, independence, and personal integrity within a system often resistant to such ideals. Born in 1931, Rule began her career as a dancer before transitioning into film and television. Her performances in works like Belle, Book and Candle, 1958, and The Swimmer, 1968, revealed a performer of striking subtlety and psychological nuance. Yet, unlike many of her contemporaries, Rule did not chase fame at all costs. Frustrated by the limitations placed on women in the entertainment industry, she took a bold turn in midlife, earning a PhD in psychology and devoting herself to psychoanalysis. This decision made her a pioneer among actors who sought fulfillment beyond the camera. Her death thus became a reflection of the post-war generation's growing awareness that art and identity are deeply intertwined, that one's worth need not be defined solely by public acclaim. The immediate aftermath of her death brought tributes from colleagues who remembered her as both a formidable actress and an empathetic therapist. Her dual careers bridged two worlds, the performative and the introspective, symbolizing the evolving understanding of mental health in the late 20th century. While her name may not be as instantly recognized as Hollywood's brightest stars, her legacy endures in the quiet revolution she embodied. The assertion that creativity and emotional depth are inseparable. Rule's passing reminds us of humanity's continual negotiation with mortality and meaning. Her life reveals that immortality is not always achieved through fame, but through authenticity, through the courage to live fully and think deeply. We immortalize figures like Janice Rule not only through film retrospectives or academic study, but through the enduring inspiration they provide, that art, intellect, and compassion together form the most lasting kind of legacy. Joey Bishop, the last surviving member of the legendary Rat Pack, passed away on October 17, 2007, at the age of 89 from heart failure in his Newport Beach home. His death, natural and peaceful, symbolized the quiet end of an era defined by glamour, camaraderie, and a uniquely American brand of cool. As the final link to the Rat Pack, a group that included Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., and Peter Lawford, Bishop's passing felt like the curtain falling on a golden age of mid-century entertainment. Bishop's life and death reflected the shifting values of his time. Born Joseph Abraham Gottlieb to Polish-Jewish immigrants, he rose from modest beginnings in the Bronx to national fame through hard work, wit, and timing. As a comedian and talk show host, Bishop's humor was understated compared to his Rat Pack peers, but he was essential to their chemistry, a straight man among larger-than-life personalities. His death in 2007 came during a period of nostalgia for post-war America, when audiences looked back at the mid-20th century as an age of style, showmanship, and social transformation. The immediate response to his passing was both reverent and reflective. Fans and fellow entertainers remembered Bishop not only for his comedic precision, but also for his resilience in surviving the cultural changes that ended the Rat Pack's reign. Tributes emphasized that his career, though quieter than those of Sinatra or Martin, represented the enduring power of humor to bridge class and culture. For many, his death served as a bookend to an entertainment dynasty that had shaped modern celebrity itself. Bishop's passing amplified the legend of the Rat Pack rather than diminishing it. In death, he became a symbol of professionalism and humility amid an age of excess, a reminder that even icons existed as craftsmen, building their reputations joke by joke, show by show. Ultimately, Joey Bishop's death invites reflection on how society remembers entertainers who defined an era. We immortalize such figures through documentaries, revived recordings, and endless cultural references that echo their wit and charm. In Bishop's case, immortality lies not in flamboyance, but in endurance, the quiet presence that held together one of history's most glamorous brotherhoods. His story reminds us that even in the spotlight's fading glow, legacy endures through laughter, memory, and the shared joy of performance. Imagine the quiet hush of a Sherman Oaks home on October 15th, a far cry from the spotlight's glare that once illuminated Samantha Eggar's path. The British actress, born Victoria Louise Samantha Marie Elizabeth Therese Eggar in 1939, slipped away at 86 after a 5-year battle with illness, her death a natural crescendo to a life woven with dramatic highs and shadowed lows. No sudden accident or violent end marred her final act. Instead, it was the inexorable fade of time, a reminder of the era's unspoken pact with aging stars who outlived their celluloid youth. Eggar's passing mirrored the mid-20th century Hollywood ethos, a golden age of glamour where performers like her, nominated for an Oscar for The Collector, 1965, voicing Hera in Disney's Hercules, 1997, embodied resilience amid typecasting and the grind of reinvention. Her career, spanning Shakespearean stages to Cronenberg's chilling The Brood, 1979, reflected the post-war shift toward bold, complex women on screen, challenging the era's rigid gender roles. Yet, illness in later years echoed broader 21st century struggles with healthcare's uneven grace for fading icons, underscoring how even legends grapple with vulnerability in an age prizing perpetual youth. Immediate ripples were subtle yet poignant. Daughter Jenna Stern, herself an actress from House of Cards, announced the news to The Hollywood Reporter, sparking tributes from cinephiles who flooded social media with clips of Eggar's poised terror in The Collector, a film where she played a captive butterfly collector's prey, her wide-eyed defiance now forever etched. No seismic industry quake followed. Her era's peers had long departed. But her death amplified a niche legend, reigniting interest in overlooked gems like Dr. Dolittle, 1967, where she charmed alongside Rex Harrison and prompting retrospectives on British talent's transatlantic triumphs. History's trajectory bent imperceptibly. Eggar's voice in Hercules endures in generations of animated nostalgia, her passing a gentle nudge toward archival revivals rather than rupture. These vignettes of finality, natural, unadorned, reveal humanity's tangled dance with mortality. Power elevates us to mythic heights, yet death levels all, stripping away the scripts to expose raw fragility. We immortalize through memory's alchemy. Art recaptures Eggar's gaze in restored prints. Literature dissects her roles in feminist film tomes, and commemorations like fan-led screenings etch her into cultural ether. In her quiet exit, we glimpse our own, not villains or heroes, but fleeting sparks, kindled eternally in the stories we retell, ensuring the curtain never fully falls.